Do you agree or disagree that the Fed should be independent?
I think the president...
Independence in Trump's head does not exist. He does not understand.
Regular folks don't understand Dows and bonds and all that, but they understand their 401k. And I think that's where the pressure's coming from.
Let's hop into a CNN panel debating the possibility of Trump firing the Fed chair Jerome Powell, something the White House has stated he might be doing or considering, which would be rather unprecedented, only for Trump to come out and say, well, no, I'm not. But of course, Trump's public word, take it with a grain of salt. So if you can, take a moment first, leave us a like on the video. It helps us out a ton, and let's get right to the debate.
The Fed is obviously independent. It's supposed to be independent, but independence in Trump's head does not exist. He does not understand why a federal government must be independent from himself. He believes that his power and the executive branch's power should dictate what happens with the Fed and with the Department of Justice and with our military, with all of the various things that should be independent. The reality is, as you talk about, Trump being spooked, it's a little late for Trump to be spooked at this point. We've been talking about tariffs. He has been talking about this for quite some time. The markets are in disarray. We're heading toward a recession. Everybody is saying that this is a terrible thing. And yet for just now, all of a sudden he woke up and he realized, this is a terrible thing for our economy and our country.
I just have to respond to your assertion that the federal government should operate independently of the elected president of the United States. You mentioned the Fed.
The Department of Justice.
You said DOJ, which is obviously appointed and works for the president.
No, but it's independent. Your laws should not be enforced based on the president. They should be enforced based on the law.
The Fed is actually legally independent. If anything, it's under Congress, as it's the power of the purse that Congress has delegated to them, which Congress has the power to do. The president has no power over the purse. This is pretty clearly laid out in the Constitution and the separation of the co-equal branches. The same is true with the military, which is, by the way, directly, the military is under the executive, but the military is bound under constitutional law before all else, where Article 6, Clause 2 of the Constitution asserts again that the Constitution is the supreme law, not the president. But MAGA, they don't know that because they don't actually read the Constitution past the Second Amendment. The problem is that these people just don't understand how the structure of government is supposed to be. They don't really know much about government, period. And so they think the executive, the president, is a king that stands above the other branches when it's nothing more than a co-equal branch of power. Most of the money is spent there in marketing because it's around one person and it's nationwide. So they get the big branding, but that doesn't make them more powerful in terms of what they can do. And it's bound by the Constitution and limited in scope by their clearly defined roles. You orchestrate the law based off the law, not based off the president, no matter how much he whines like a baby when you do so.
Do you agree or disagree that the Fed should be independent?
I think the president should be able to
that
render
actually
an opinion
is a
monetary
yes
policy.
Or no.
Whether he should be able to fire him is an open question.
That is a yes or no question. Should the Fed be independent of the whims of any president of the United States?
I think the president ought to be able to have opinions.
Why can't you say yes or no?
I think it's an open question where they should be able to fire the head of the Fed. Some Republican senators don't agree.
So, Scott.
But I don't. Right. I just think the idea that the president should not have any opinion about monetary policy is crazy.
I'm going to give you a third try on this one. Should the Fed's decisions about how they operate, the interest rates, when they raise or lower them, should they be independent of the President of the United States?
Does independent mean they don't take his opinion into consideration?
Independent means no, they don't take his opinion into consideration.
I don't agree with that. I'm sorry.
I mean, these people literally just want to anoint a king in this country at this point. We're learning more day by day that this corruption and these issues that the right speaks of happening in the government constantly are just the, liberal democracy part. Unfortunately for them and their small government king crusade, Trump is single-handedly doing more than any lib could to show how ripe for corruption small government is. When you take away the checks and balances that big government provides, when you spread out that power among the big government and you're rapidly shrinking the size of the government with these massive layoffs, you're defunding and closing agencies with power being removed from Congress and consolidated under the executive under one person. We've already seen more corruption, more incompetence in 90 days because of this than in 4 years of Biden, big government, and DEI. It's pretty clear which one is more efficiently now. We've had the case study for all of us to see. The question to ask Scott here is, what part of the government should not be controlled by the president? If he can't name any, it's clear Scott wants a king.
The most not just the desired outcome, the fundamental law of nature needs to be that the Federal Reserve, the chair of the Federal Reserve, makes decisions on monetary policy that are based on economic data, not on the whims of a president. And that's very, very clear.
There's a direct effect here with the American worker that has to do with China and with the stock market that people are seeing every day. Donald Trump ran on being tough on China, and workers and folks in America, they love that talk. They love being tough on China. But they also love getting really cheap stuff from Walmart. And they can't have both at the same time. And I think that's why you see him backing off of that. With the stock market, regular folks don't understand Dows and bonds and all that, but they understand their 401k. And I think that's where the pressure's coming from, is people around there saying, you're hurting your own people. And so you see people backing down.
What part of the first 90 days of Trump economic policy makes you want him to have more control? Like 90 days of Trump tanking the market and blasting our economy into uncertainty, only to walk back everything that caused it and get nothing in return. That makes you want him to be able to control the Fed as well, to be able to do more economic damage. It just stems from these people's unwillingness to ever admit Trump is going too far, to ever draw a line that they'll hold Trump to ever say, yeah, I'm not comfortable with Trump doing X, literally insert anything. And it's because of clowns like that he's going to be able to do more damage to democracy than even the left predicted. The government runs well when things are independent of each other, well-funded, and private money is kept out. Conservatives' only function in government is to ruin these things. They want to make it hyper-partisan around Trump, underfunded, and swayed by private interests, which they've been able to do rapidly in 90 days as we see chaos after chaos, scandal after scandal, incompetence after incompetence, leak after leak, with no signs of it slowing down. And it's asshats like Scott Jennings who sees that and is like, yeah, let's give Orange Man more power.